Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's TCS News. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Judah.
We have some important things happening in TCS and around the world, so let's get straight to it. Tensions between Egypt and Mesopotamia have been rapidly increasing by the day. By what you may ask? Well, it's over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, aka GERD. GERD is a non consumption hydropower project that was built by Ethiopia right on the Nile River. For context, Ethiopia is south of Egypt with the Nile River running through both countries.
Since construction began in 2011, Cairo has stated that the GERD project poses a threat to Egyptian and regional stability, saying that the dam may help Ethiopia where the water will flood into Cairo. The Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed denied these claims, stating that they would never do anything to hurt their neighbors. This eventually proved to be wrong, though, seeing how Cairo is now having major flooding problems, which has caused over 1,200 families to be displaced last week, their homes destroyed. The Nile is usually affected by seasonal flooding due to monsoon rainfall, which usually peaks in July and August, but due to the dam's construction, the water flow is changing and flooding into other countries. This whole incident has caused major heated arguments between countries. So far, there has been no talks from Ethiopia saying that they would stop, seeing as this dam brings a lot of electricity to Ethiopia, which only has 55% of the country has access to.
Ethiopia spent 14 years making this dam through the central bank and public bond sales. The project cost about $6 billion in total. Their goal was to transform the economy and export the extra amount of power generated from the dam to other regions like Kenya. The Renaissance Dam is not a threat, but a shared opportunity, says Prime Minister Ahmed. Egypt, however, believed the opposite. Sudan, being in the middle of this conflict and experiencing the aftermath, relies mainly on Egypt for support. This created a diplomatic side to the conflict.
Attempts to resolve this conflict so far have failed. President Trump caused an outrage in Ethiopia when he suggested that Egypt would stop at nothing to get rid of the dam. After failing to come to an agreement between both countries, he stopped foreign aid from going to Ethiopia and made a comment stating that Egypt would eventually blow the dam.
The results of this ongoing conflict are devastating. Water from the dam had to be released, and this resulted in the large amounts of flooding seen in areas along the Nile, which include Egypt's capital Cairo and Sudan's River Nile state. I can understand the reasons Ethiopia wanted to build the dam, but I think they should have considered the opinions of their neighboring countries before making a decision. All parties involved should meet with each other to figure out a way to prevent this situation from happening again.
I agree. Hopefully, the situation can be resolved in a way where both sides get something out of it. But so far, there's only been additions to the conflicts, which makes sense, since it took a lot of time and resources for Ethiopia to build. Hopefully, though, Ethiopia can start listening to the countries that are being affected by this and come to an agreement peacefully.
Now, let's jump into some TCS news. On Thursday, we watched a documentary called Digital Disconnect that asked the question, is the internet for democracy? It covered the ways that the internet revolutionized the world, but also caused the fear of artificial intelligence taking over. The internet divided people into two groups, the skeptics and the celebrants. The skeptics argued that the internet made society dumber and caused short-term memory issues. The celebrants said it made people smarter and expanded our knowledge beyond the ways humans alone could achieve.
Over time, the internet became more and more corrupt, sparking disagreements between people and large capitalist companies. The main point of interest was net neutrality. Jordan, could you explain what net neutrality is?
Of course, net neutrality is the principle that internet service providers should give access to all kinds of content and information, regardless of the source. Providers shouldn't favor or block certain websites or products from internet users.
This principle was very important in the rise of internet capitalism. People across America began protesting for the government to keep net neutrality and prevent companies from dominating the internet by eliminating competition. The FCC, or the Federal Communications Committee, officially got rid of net neutrality in 2018.
I thought this documentary was well written. It focused on the government relationship with the internet and how it became a controversial topic. I was surprised to see how large of a gap there is in internet quality between rich and poor Americans. Not only that, but the death of newspapers and other forms of physical news that are being replaced by the internet. I think that the internet is neither a good nor bad thing. It's just a tool that can do good or bad, depending on the user.
I thought it had a great showcase of how American society has evolved over the years when it comes to the internet and how we treat it. It showed a good representation of how companies are selling our algorithms to keep us in hubs of our own content and the effects it can have on our minds.
On Friday, we had a conversation with alumni from TCS. Joining us were Madison, Claude, Olivia, Salma, and Joshua. Each of them updated us on their careers and where they are in life currently. Madison graduated in the class of 2025 and went to Towson University for her major in pre-nursing. After graduating from TCS, she went to Towson undecided. Working in healthcare was a goal of hers, so she settled on nursing. Claude graduated in 2021 and currently works at MedStar Union Memorial Hospital as a security officer. Before graduating, his goal was to work in accounting to easily make a lot of money. He got accepted into many colleges, but went to Loyola, even though it wasn't his first choice. During this time there, he strayed away from his academics, focusing on parties or hanging out with friends on the weekends. He realized that this isn't what he wanted, and dropped out to work at his current job. Now, Claude wants to go back to school and become a surgical tech at CCBC.
Olivia graduated in 2022 and is in her second year of law school at the University of Baltimore School of Law. Fun fact, Olivia is a first generation law student and she always knew that she wanted to do something in the field of law. Originally, she wanted to be a musician and create her own songs, but found studying laws was well suited for her. Salma graduated in 2021 and wanted to be a teacher for young children, but changed her focus to journalism. Salma's mother is an immigrant that brought her to the U.S. and was a huge role model for her. She went to CCBC for college, which her family supported her throughout her education.
Finally, Joshua was a graduate of 2022. He went to Morgan State because he wanted to feel connected with an HBCU, a historically black college/university. He was able to receive his education through scholarships and connections he found through TCS. During his life, Joshua experienced trouble with his academics, but changed his bad habits when he came to the school. He is now working as a patient transporter at MedStar Union Memorial along with Claude. He chose this job because he found a passion for working with people and getting them what they needed.
In the conversation, we discussed topics such as challenges for them during their years at TCS and how they were able to overcome problems in and out of school, such as discipline and working towards being young adults. We also discussed how having bad professors is a common trait in college and different ways to deal with that. Everyone has said that TCS has helped them overcome these problems even after they graduated. This proves to show how valuable the school is to alumni.
I thought that this was a great conversation. It's always good to see alumni come back to the school and talk to them about how they're doing. We've gotten a lot of helpful advice from each of them about life as a student in TCS, tips for deciding our careers, and what to expect from others as we graduate and mature as individuals. Thank you all for coming back to speak with us.
Yes, thank you for spending time with us. We are excited for our next time.
On Monday, we watched another documentary called An Outrage. It was about lynching in the American South and how it affected the African American community. Lynching is when someone is killed for an alleged offense, or simply just because they didn't align with the social structure during their time. It was such a common practice in the South that people responsible for these violent acts were never arrested or held in a legal trial.
Many victims of lynching have not yet had justice to their names. Sadly, this practice continues in modern times and was recently made illegal on March 29, 2022. Relatives and others in the documentary recalled stories of these crimes committed against loved ones or members of their community. Many of them have said that it's hard to forget about the damage that lynching has done because it's going on for several generations. It's terrible that lynching was and still is normalized in society, just in different forms. It's important that we don't forget these times in history so that we can learn and prevent history from repeating itself.
On Tuesday, we welcomed back guest artist Miss Kini Collins. This time, we got to know her personally and how she became an artist. Her passion for contrast and bold colors began when she was young. She loved drawing lines and shapes with a large black crayon, which was not accepted by the nuns in her school. After high school, she began her martial arts career, even moving to Japan to pursue it.
Miss Kitty stopped doing martial arts because of her injury she sustained. With nothing to do, she returned to writing, which switched to art because she had a stronger connection with the physical aspect of it. She went to school to make art professionally while keeping her own style of painting and drawing. Not only is Miss Kinney an artist, but she has written her own book called The Singing Bowl and is coming out with another book in January.
She loves doing Japanese calligraphy, but does other forms of art such as painting, drawing, sculpting, and making pigeons out of a flammable material. Miss Kinney has been doing work within her community rather than getting her art to be known across the country. She continues her art because it's something that she enjoys and that it frees her from society.
Thank you so much for coming back, Miss Kinney. It was great to get to know you, as well as your art.
Now, we'd like to introduce this week's spotlight, Miss Lisa Knickmeyer. Miss Knickmeyer is a part of the staff at TCS, where she works as a sponsor coordinator and is a sponsor for many students. Before TCS, she received a degree in business, specializing in HR, or human resources. She specialized in HR for about 7 years.
Miss Knickmeyer traveled to Switzerland and worked for a pharmaceutical company for 6 years before returning to the United States. She also received her master's in social work from the University of Maryland, which led her to work with St. Vincent de Paul of Baltimore as a director. This is an outreach center that provides food and domestic violence aid for Hispanic families.
After her social work career, Miss Knickmeyer studied to be a teacher for Baltimore City Public Schools. This path led her to work at Mother Seton Academy, an independent Catholic middle school, for 14 years. Miss Knickmeyer was a graduate support director, and her role was to guide students as they were prepared for high school. Many students from TCS have been to Mother Seton, which ties into Miss Knickmeyer's role as a sponsor and sponsor coordinator. She currently sponsors Madison, Carla, Hector, Danny, and Kennedy. She was previously a sponsor for alumni Salma and Miss Janai.
Ms. Knickmeyer continues supporting TCS because she strongly admires Mr. Tom's work. TCS isn't just a high school, but a mentoring program as well. Students gain life skills that lead them to success, which is why Ms. Knickmeyer feels the way she does about the school.
We are so lucky to have you, Ms. Knickmeyer. Thank you for all the work you've done and will continue to do for the school. The school wouldn't be the same without you.
Now, we would also like to thank those who brought us lunch this week, starting with Miss Carla, Ruth and Carla's mom, and her delicious pupusas on Wednesday.
Thank you so much, Miss Leslie, my mom's sponsor, for the fried chicken and french fries on Thursday.
Thank you so much, Miss Leslie, Candy's mom and sponsor, for the amazing baked chicken and roasted potatoes on Friday. This lunch was enjoyed by everyone.
Thank you, Miss Mary Louise, for the Italian cold cuts and turkey sandwiches on Monday. Another great lunch as always.
Thank you, Miss Miriam, Muhammad's mom and sponsor, for pizza on Tuesday. We always appreciate your support for the school.
And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week for another TCS News broadcast. Bye.